first roundtable of this 2024 PCB conference. I'm honored to be here. My name is Sabrina Aly. I'm VP Finance and Corporate Transformation at Sabitel Technologies. Sabitel Technologies is a company who specializes in cybersecurity and data privacy services. And among our key offering is a solution that ensure compliance to global framework like the GDPR and data privacy framework. This morning, I have the pleasure to moderate this roundtable on a crucial topic, which is the EU-US data privacy framework and its global implication on data flow. As you know, data governance has become essential to modern businesses. Companies across the world are growing challenges in managing and safeguarding sensitive information, particularly if it's crossing across borders. Our panel of experts here will have the expertise and it will share their expertise and insight on how businesses can adapt and thrive in this new environment, and also share any other expertise you have on this. So I'll present each and one of our experts this morning. To my left here is Mr. Punit Bhatia. He's a globally recognized consultant specializing in AI and privacy risk management. With experience across 30+ countries, he helps organizations develop and implement effective data privacy strategies in today's digital and AI-driven world. He has authored 4 books, including Be Ready for GDPR and AI and Privacy. And he's the host of the top-ranked Fit for Privacy podcast. Additionally, he has certified privacy expert, FYP CIPPE, and he's the CEO for Fit for Privacy, and an active board member in various global associations. On the left again, Christopher Magnan. He has been a technology director for different organizations focusing on digital transformation, system engineering, and program management. He has developed third-party cyber risk mitigation strategies for Internet of Things and smart cities. He has written articles for PCB highlighting trending cybersecurity, vulnerabilities, and risk mitigation strategy. He received his Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering from Northeastern University, and he also received an MBA and Master degree in Electrical Engineering from the University of Maryland. And last but not least, Dr. Ralf Schadowski. Born in 1966, founder of 10 IT and consulting companies, has been a professional in information security and data protection for over 30 years. He is also a professor of data protection at one of the top 10 University of Applied Science in Germany, and he is a PCB 27X master. He has audited over 1,000 organizations with his team. And in the last 10 years, he's happy to give us practical insight into the topic of legally compliant transfer to non-EU countries with the involvement of data protection supervisory authorities. I'll get that closer. Okay, now that I have introduced our 3 panelists here, let's deep dive into the discussion. I'll start with the business implication on this data privacy framework. So, panelists, given your expertise in international data privacy standard, how do you see this framework addressing the key data protection challenges businesses face in today's global landscape?
Well, okay, you can begin. Okay, while you take care of the mic, I'll speak. So I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me, and good to see you all. What are the business implications? I think before the business implication, let's get to address the very basic aspect. When you talk to a business, at least when I do, and I'm sure my fellow panelists, when they talk, the belief that they have is, since we are working with the EU, the data cannot be transferred. Well, that's not true. If you're working with the EU, you can transfer data, but there are some rules. and you have to respect those rules, and that's what we call the EU GDPR and now the EU-US data privacy framework, which is the new one. So that's what you have to do, and the business implication is if you don't transfer data in the modern world, you can't do business, as simple as that, because most of us use Microsoft or Google. That means you're transferring data to the US from EU or from Asia or from wherever. Then we have SharePoints or Amazon Web Services, Azure Web Services. That again means you're transferring data. And that's where this topic, data transfers, comes in. How far you go, what do you do, where do you keep your data? So few questions. What data am I moving? Where am I moving this data? What are the rules around moving that data to that country? And sometimes people like Ralf, me and my colleagues will come and we will tell you, you can't move that to that country. Or if you have to do that, this is the checklist. And if you do it here, then it's a different checklist. So based on those, you can move your data. But business implication, in short, answering the question is, you can't do business if you don't move your data in the modern world.
From the U.S. perspective, the U.S. lags the EU in both data protection and data privacy. Coming from the U.S., I can attest to the lack of protection that I experience on a daily basis. I have limited protection. My finances are protected, my health records, and my education. And so the DPF, which is a modification to the Privacy Shield, is just an entry barrier to do business with the EU, since the protections offered by the U.S. do not meet the adequacy requirement. And so moving forward, a lot of firms that complied or were considered adequate with data privacy, they have minimal modifications to make. And any new firms have to go through the self-certification process, where existing data privacy certified organizations do not have to recertify. They're quote-unquote grandfathered in. And what else? And the two modifications, or the primary modifications, are the U.S. surveillance, which was a major concern in the EU. That was remedied with Executive Order 14086 by President Biden in 2023, which gave EU citizens data protection rights equivalent to the United States, and also the remedy for any data protection breaches or violations through the Department of Commerce or another organization. Say if it's telecommunications, that would be remedied through the Federal Communications Commission in the United States.
So good morning, everybody. Good to see some of you again. It's like a family meeting, isn't it? It's like PCB, so thank you very much to PCB that we can join each other here in the conference. Looking forward to exchange. Hopefully this is valuable panel to you. From a data protection officer perspective, and we were running so many assessments every day, and with our company and with our experts all over the world. And I received so many requests from US side where companies fear about GDPR topics, that they will be fined maybe inside Germany or inside European Union when they are not compliant. So DPF really helps us in enforcing global data transfers. We humans all over can only exist when we cooperate and when we exchange. And for instance, as a responsible data protection officer to one of the largest university hospitals inside Germany, we run about 500 projects also with external sponsors, like in the US with Pfizer, and we have to transfer, of course, PII, personal identifiable informations, also in the meaning of saving lives. So this is a real serious and hard topic, and this cannot be, disabled by applying GDPR rules only. So when we talk also to supervisory authorities, not only in Germany but also in European Union and also to those guys in Brussels, they say, okay, we have to find a way to enable those global data privacy transfers and also these global data transfers. And this is so crucial in the daily work. We are enabler and not not disabler as a DPO function. And this is crucial to our daily work. DPF really helps us, but there are still some gaps remaining. For instance, when we enforce compliance with third countries, there's still some work to go. It's not only the transfer European Union to US, which the DPF helps us a little bit. It's also the data transfer to all other countries outside European Union. And it's our role as a responsible DPO to enable this data transfer. And later on, I will give you some insights on actual projects which you can use for your daily work, maybe.
Thank you, panelists. Ralf, you were talking about gaps. I was wondering, is there any specific measure that we could implement to close those gaps?
Well, when we teach data protection officers to apply actual state-of-the-art cyber security measures, for instance, like encryption or staying in control of data, and everyone wants to stay in control of data. It's not only about the control of PII, it's the control of any kind of data, and this is what we are here for. When we're looking for ISO standards, which are taught by PCB, for instance, we use and apply ISO 27001, 27701, and 42001, for instance, for actual AI measures. This is really helpful. But in the end of the day, we are in that age. Everything is going to change. No one has taken into account AI technology a couple of years ago when we met, for instance, in Brussels 2019. And actually, when we're looking forward in 1 or 2 years, when quantum servers will become available in commercial way, adding this with the next level on AI, today measures will be gone. So when we say we encrypt, for instance, health data in big university hospitals and feeling secure, then our attackers are gaining for this kind of data. They just take the data today. We call it harvest now or store now and decrypt later. So storage is quite cheap, and attackers are going to attack this kind of data being encrypted as the most interesting data, bringing this data to the site, and will decrypt this later with quantum server technologies becoming available very soon. And this will change many, many topics. So we rely on technical organizational measures today, but I say we have to separate this data from access from hackers just on storage beside, not connected to the world, just to secure this kind of data. This is so important, thinking about segregation of data, segregation of duties, organizing this kind of stuff. And this is crucial to ensure data privacy and data protection.
Thank you, Ralf. This morning we have the chance actually to have two panelists from the EU and one from the US, which is Christian. So I'm wondering, do you have another perspective, another US perspective about the gaps?
Well, the US is full of gaps, as I mentioned to my colleagues this morning. I'm probably not welcome home now. Like I said before, we have limited protections in the United States, and compliance and regulation are contentious words in the United States. And there's a trend in the United States where cybersecurity and information security and data privacy spending is declining because corporate executives and Wall Street and private equity don't see value in cybersecurity protection measures. And so the U.S. Is more vulnerable in terms of organizational risk. And so that is a huge gap that must be overcome. And someone like Ralf can basically audit the security posture, the privacy posture, and identify any key gaps as well as identify any behavioral gaps since cybersecurity is people, processes, and technology, and develop a short-term or long-term plan to mitigate those gaps and retain compliance or meet compliance.
Okay, so what do I say now after two panelists have said everything? Maybe I'll simplify to the highest level. If you are managing privacy, managing data transfers, do three things. Of course, there are many things to do, but at a broad level, do three things. Set up a policy which is in line with your legal obligations. So define a policy internally. After that, set up a governance to make sure that policy is implemented. So when I say governance, it's data and privacy and AI and everything else governed together. So don't look at privacy governance, AI governance, data governance, all as separate ones, but together collective governance. And then the third thing is you manage and monitor the risks. You continually look at what are the risks you have, what are the risks that are coming up, as my friend said. The vulnerabilities are coming up, the budgets are going down, the new digital AI things are coming up. So risks are changing. And in that volatile world, look at your risks, manage your risks. So if you do those three things, set up a policy, govern it, and monitor the risks, and sometimes monitoring the risk will also mean improving your governance or changing your policy. If you keep doing those three things, on a regular basis, you're good to go and you'll be compliant with many ISO standards also.
Thank you, Punit. We just discussed about implementing the DPF, but I think this raises a good question as business owners or people working for businesses. How can businesses stay productive while being compliant?
That's a good question. It's always cost to businesses. They just have to leverage their existing staff identify the gaps and develop a remedy to move forward to maintain compliance or retain compliance. Typical strategies include auditing through a third party, as well as identifying key gaps within the security posture or the privacy posture, and mitigating these risks. And when I say audit policy, audit awareness and knowledge, integrate any remediation for observed gaps, and also create a simulated environment just so everybody knows their roles and responsibilities through the compliance cycle.
Yeah, actually, we were talking about technical level, what can be brought in place, and we will check technical organizational measures and all the stuff. But in the end of the day, when we talk about privacy, it's about our fundamental rights, isn't it? And when we say fundamental rights, everyone wants to keep his own privacy. We need to be able to answer questions of data subjects. What kind of data has been collected, been processed somehow, and how does an organization stay in control, no matter whether this organization is inside European Union or outside? And a lot of people do not recognize that it was not a German one or a European one who first takes privacy into account. It was a US guy. Everyone knows in this room. It was 1960 when JFK comes to the election and he says, this society can only exist if we ensure privacy of everyone. And this was even not the first one. The first one was in 1905, a judge in Georgia who said to a newspaper, you may not print a picture of anyone without consent. So it was the US guys. It was not the European guys. And now inside European Union, where we say, can we transfer data to US guys and to US organizations, we struggle a little bit and say, hey, are they compliant to our level in GDPR? Look in the history. Of course, the first act worldwide was the German one in Hessen area in 1970. And then the other one comes up in the US, in Germany, in France, in Italy, with different levels of compliance. And by this leads, in the end of the day, to the discussion between 2011 and 2016 to rise GDPR as a baseline, as a standard for the European Union countries. And of course, you can overrule some regulations, make it sharper, make it tougher with the local acts. And now what we recognize from inside European Union, and we really appreciate this, is that inside US, the local states like California with the CCPA, Californian Consumer and Privacy Act on one hand, or Georgia Act, or Virginia Privacy Act comes up, more and more local acts come up. The only gap we are missing inside the US from European Union perspective is somehow a data protection court or judge where data subjects may claim their rights to ask for their data, and this is about it. So when we talk about data about DPF with the European Union and US in special, this is a good starting point. We rely on this, and we use this DPF every day when it comes up to projects between those two areas. These are emerging markets. We need to enable the data transfer in a compliant way. And yeah, this is what we're talking about, I guess. And US is, some kind of a model, because we need this kind of model also in other areas when we transfer data to African states or to Brazil or to China or wherever. And only a few people are aware that there will be more than 100 data protection acts worldwide, like in Singapore or in China. Even China has a data protection act like the people. And it's very interesting to have a look also how they are going to manage privacy rights. So DPF, back to you, is a good starting point and can become a model to other data transfers also.
So if we look back at the question, what is the return on investment on doing all this? The two ways of looking at it. One is saying it's compliance. Compliance is always on top, and you have to spend to stay compliant. If you think that, then you don't want to be compliant, you can buy an insurance and you can mitigate the risk. That's one way. But then the second way is the fundamentals of what you have. Like in Harvard Business Review, they will say, you cannot manage what you don't know. So if you don't know, you can't manage. So if you have data, if you have personal data, and you don't know about it, you don't govern it, you don't manage it, how will you run your business? And then they say data is the new gold. So how are you managing your gold? By governing it, by putting policies, by making sure it stays with you, not to other companies. And that's where privacy governance and data governance come in. But then there's the research aspect of it. 5 years ago when we started in this job, we started in this job long back, but 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when the GDPR came up, the question was, what's the return on investment? And we had these philosophical arguments, which I gave you. But now we have concrete evidence that research is showing and helping us do our business better. Like there's a Cisco research on data privacy benchmarking every year, which is coming up, and which says businesses which are investing into privacy, so into the EU data privacy framework, that's the GDPR, or EU-US data privacy framework, that's the transfer for data into US, or any other privacy framework, ISO 27701. If you're investing into that, you have more sales, don't know how, more customer trust, which I can appreciate, less operational inefficiencies, and less sales delays, reduction in supply chain interruptions, less incidents, less cybersecurity incidents. So there is research proving that. Now, we can always look at it with skepticism, saying it's biased by privacy and security professionals saying this has happened, but there is research and we need to look at that. So 3 dimensions. If you purely look at a business case from privacy and security implementation, it'll be hard to say. It's like, why should I have windows at my home? I'm safe. Well, it protects you from rain, it protects you from cold, it protects you from hot, and also the thieves, which come once in a while, no? Once in a lifetime, hopefully, or not hopefully. Whichever way you want to look at it. So that's how it is with privacy and security. You make your investments. But on the other hand, there is research which is giving evidence, and the best part is, if you do that, then you can do business in EU. That would be my short answer in terms of what's the return on investment.
Thank you. Yes, for sure, we can all agree that the DPF brings some value, but I was wondering if you could share maybe some insight, since you're working in the field with companies, how companies are seeing the DPF. Are they seeing it as a real good investment, or are they scared to move forward with it?
In my opinion, the clients I'm working with, they see it as an advantage, because a few years ago there was a privacy shield which got invalidated, and then it was a problem. And we didn't know what to do legally. We don't know how long this data privacy framework will stay, because Max Combs can still do a case and still it can go out of the window. But for now, people are welcoming this change. And the good part is it's not creating a huge administrative burden. It's saying be responsible, which GDPR asks you. So have a policy, implement it, and demonstrate and self-certify, and after that go to the US Department of Commerce, if I believe, and register in there, which is a fairly straightforward process. And that creates assurance, and that creates a legitimate means to transfer business, or transfer data, and carry out your business in multiple countries. So it is being looked at very positively. Of course, there's a bit of skepticism, because some people say it's self-certification. So I am vouching for my own actions. Where is the validation? But it doesn't say you can't get it certified or audited from a third party. You can do it. But the EU principle in most regulations is self-accountability, self-governance, or responsible, like we say, responsible AI, accountable in GDPR, transparency. So that's the principles we are taking, and that's what it is asking you to do. Self-certification with registration with US Department for Commerce. That's how it is, and it's being welcomed, because a few years ago we were not sure. We are still doing business, but we were unsure. And it's creating that element of certainty with the skepticism continuing.
Okay. Just making sure the mic's on. From a U.S. perspective, it basically opens up the market to the EU. As I mentioned before, U.S. protections are not considered adequate per Article 45. And so, as Punit mentioned, that it's self-certification, which is a low-hanging fruit to grasp, as well as the alternative, which are standard contract clauses, which add significant costs. And so the data privacy framework is a holistic approach where the clauses would have to be modified from organization to organization, and that is the basically the approach from the U.S. perspective, is to utilize the data privacy framework. And as I mentioned before, if the organization is already registered with Data Shield, or Privacy Shield, I'm getting my names mixed up, there are a few modifications to make to retain compliance. It's just a public-facing website, as well as some slight modifications to the compliance, as well as the remedy. Do you have anything to add?
Well, we could add, some of you have really taken some big efforts to come to this conference from worldwide, traveling with planes, and have taken so many hours to join to this conference. And, from outer perspective, outer European Union perspective, it's maybe a little bit complicated about GDPR and what we're doing here. And DPF is a good opener, business enabler for the data transfers, especially between European Union and US. But in the end of the day, it's, from my perspective, staying in control of any kind of data, no matter where you're going to share and where you need to cooperate with. And the fundamental sequence in GDPR to data subjects is always, my data belongs to me at any time. And any responsible, in the meaning of Section 5, Set 2, says the responsible is accountable and needs to be able to demonstrate compliance to GDPR. So what kind of data has been collected, processed, transferred to whom? And this is the answer every responsible needs to give to a data subject. And if you are capable to answer this question, then you're compliant. It's quite easy. It's not about a lot of acts and a lot of sections inside GDPR and other regulations. It's common sense. And if this is in place, then you are compliant. And addressing also the life cycle of data, as Punit just said, you need to know what kind of data you have stored somehow and somewhere. And when I run an assessment out there, and as Sabrina said in the opening, I did perform more than 1,000 assessments in the past 10 years with my teams, and so we're still in the beginning. We are in 2024, 6 years after GDPR comes into effect, and it's still somehow nothing in place, just nothing. Not even a backup, not even a contract, or a ROPA, like a record of processing of activities. What is it? It's not a secret. It's just you understand your business, and we need to collect data. We call this, in education of data protection officers, the logical chain. The more customers you have, the more data you are going to collect, and you need to collect. The more money you're going to earn, and the more jobs you create. So our corporation and the organization is growing. That is what we are finally interested in. But it's the opposite is also working. When you're going to lose data, you lose trust, you lose customers, you will have less turnover and less EBITDA in the end of the year, and you have to quit some jobs, and the company is going down. And this is what needs to be avoided at any time. So accept DPF, GDPR, Virginia Privacy Acts, CCPA, people, whatever on the world, as somehow a little bit like guardrails. But this guardrails has plenty of place to work in between, and it's not so tough as it's somehow discussed in press media sometimes. So this is a cool story, and this really helps us working together as humans worldwide in global transfers, and mechanisms like a DPIA, a data protection impact assessment in advance before transferring some kind of data just ensures control on data at any time, and this helps. It's not rocket science, it's just daily work to DPOs.
Thank you.
My name is Hassan from Bahrain.
Hi, nice to meet you, Hassan.
Thank you very much. I think the question that you asked earlier is crucial. We are not asking about what is the benefit of being compliant to these rules and regulations. I would like you to imagine that I am a client now. I know what is the benefit. I know what is the return on investment. I know it is crucial. I have to comply. How can you, as a consultant, to advise me to ensure that I do comply, and at the same time I still protect and have productivity? I don't have a burden on my work. So what are the, let's say, 3 advices that you can send to me as a user? These are the things you have to do in order for you to be complying and productive at the same time.
No matter in what region you're staying, it's 3 topics. You ask for 3 topics. The first topic, of course, is the so-called technical organizational measures. You need to ensure that these topics are in place. This is really crucial to stay in control on any kind of data, no matter where you are on the planet. You're right. The second one is never forget the employees, the people working. When we talk about ISO 27X, we say about people, process, and technology. This is fundamental in all frameworks, right? So we need to raise awareness and knowledge to our staffs, to our people working with any kind of data, also with PII. And the third one is, of course, you need to adjust also the contractual base. Contractual base not only in the meaning of data protection, but also in the full supply chain, from your contractor and your organization to your subcontractor, to your service provider, and to the subcontractors, and so on. So you need to have to check out the whole supply chain. These are the 3 advices I give you with this conference to check out after the session. This is so crucial to focus on these 3 areas. If you do so, then 90% is in place. No, 100%, 90%. But you know, data protection doesn't need to be 100%. A yellow light is enough. Sometimes. Not in all times, but sometimes, right?
I think
it's risk management at the end of the day.
Yeah, I would fully agree with Ralf saying it's about risk management, and I won't say 90, 100 or all that, because then it becomes quantitative. But as a German, he can. so I'll give you my perspective saying you need to be ready to demonstrate and have a defensible position. So if somebody walks in saying, what are you doing on GDPR? What are you doing on privacy, say in your region? And you say, what do you mean by privacy? Or I have to check, what are we doing? Or I don't know. That's not a good answer, and it's not a defensible position. But if you go in and say, we have, oh yeah, privacy, we do it. This is our policy. This is our governance. This is our register. This is our data. And you give them all the answers and the justification, and then they start asking you questions saying, why do you do this? And you give an answer. Why do you do this? You give an answer. So you have ready to defend yourself and a good case. Then, as he said, in the 90% cases, you're safe because you would have a defensible position and you have done everything in control. And then it's always possible you did the right thing, wrong thing, or in the situation you erred, then there's an advice saying, please fix it, please improve it. And in essence, since you asked for three things, I think I would say right data for right purpose with right people. So I elaborate. Let's say somebody in finance is processing claims. And let's imagine I'm the person. So I have access to the data. I can see on the files that the CEO is drinking a lot of wine and going to every conference and spending a lot of money. Now that's an information I have because I'm processing claims. And that's the right purpose. I should have access to the bill because I need to see. And I need to see the bill is genuine. It's right purpose. But then I'm having coffee with my colleagues for 2 hours later. And I say, hey, Sabrina, you know, our CEO, he went to that place and he was drinking wine so much. And then Christopher joins in and he joins, oh, you know, I know last time I saw him there. That's not done. That's not right purpose. That's not right people. And that's not the right data to be shared. So I got that data to process the claims. I process the claims. And then when I'm with Christopher, Sabrina, and Ralf, I'm having a separate conversation, not about the job, not about the data which I saw. So it's in that essence, everybody has access to right data for right purpose and with the right people. That's essentially the principle with which you act.
Thank you, Hassan, for your question. I think it's completed the operational efficiency topic. Talking about this, yes, we're talking about operation, but I think we must address one other crucial topic, which is digital transformation, AI, Internet of Things. Do you feel like this data privacy framework will limit companies to follow the new trends, or it's helping them?
I was going to say that IoT is more of a localized application or technology, since the technology itself is helping organizations pivot to new opportunities or implement automation, and all the data is stored locally within the confines of the enterprise, and I don't really see any correlation between data privacy framework in regards to compliance or adequacy to the framework or any other extensions within the frameworks.
So I'll go the other side and say I do see a correlation because that's good to have in the panel some different views. So there are two views in that sense. When you implement the data privacy framework or the EU-US data privacy framework, you're taking care of how the personal data aspect, or the PII as we call it, is going to be protected, and what are you doing in principal manner to protect that. That's what you're establishing. That's what you're self-certifying. And if you're doing that, that means whether you're doing it in context of offline systems, online systems, Internet of Things, or AI systems, you're doing it for all of them. And if you've principally done that, behind it, the framework for processing personal data would remain same. So yes, it's covered.
But then the contrarian view can also be that how do I govern my AI systems? But for that you have the ISO 42001 or the EU AI Act, and that's a separate domain we are talking. In context of personal data, in context of transfer of personal data, any kind of system, it's sufficient. And in fact, 3 years ago, some of me and my colleagues were saying, why do we need an EU AI Act? Because the GDPR is sufficient. GDPR is sufficient in context of the personal data and the processing of personal data and transfer of personal data. But then the AI systems take care of much more broader look at non-personal and many other types of data, and also the self-generated, synthesized, learned, and all that data. And there we do need the other aspects, and that part is not covered.
Well, AI is part of our age. It's so exciting, really. And this is, from my perspective, the next level of the next industrial revolution. And what is it about, and what has it been affected the humans with the first revolution when it comes up with the steam machine in 1904? And always people feared about this new technology with steam machines, with modern automatic processes that Henry Ford in the end 30s. With new technology in the 60s coming up with the first computing technologies and so on. And now we are in the AI age with new quantum servers coming up, as I said before. So this is huge exciting. And where is it being developed? Not in Germany, not inside European Union. We are not capable in producing our own operating system, office suites, or AI technologies. We have to count on the US guys. So by this, I traveled with my sons, age 14 and 17, 3 years ago, to San Jose to show them what's going on in Stanford. In San Jose with the new development centers. They have a huge culture in motivating people, rising their own companies, getting into the risk and developing those kind of new technologies. And now we are talking about compliance. Yes, when we want to run AI every day, I use it every day, me in person, our clients, but never forget people. We need to train them so that they recognize how to use it in a proper way and what are the limits, also the compliance limits. Where do I not use AI? How do I use AI? Generative AI or maybe also internal AI? So many, many different ways how to use AI, but we need to train and to enable the businesses to be ready for using AI. This is my recommendation on this topic.
Thank you, Ralf. Actually, this roundtable is coming to an end. We have a few couple minutes and would like to open the doors for quick questions. Yes, go ahead. Someone will pass you the mic.
Thank you guys for that interesting insights. You have talked a lot about self-certification and self-audit and self-checking regarding data privacy on the companies, which could be important or recognized worldwide for the data transfers. There is a company, I think in Luxembourg, Europrivacy, the name, and they claim to have an international to have developed an international framework for auditing and certification on data protection according to GDPR. What is their role and how they may help? Because they are not accredited by international accreditation service, they are not accredited by the European service, they are not accredited by any other European country, local accreditational services. So how can they help? Are they auditing? What are they providing? What are they doing?
Well, each and every privacy consultancy has built its own model, own approach to say, how do you comply with it? So Ralf's company, my company, and the company you mentioned, and many other companies have put in a framework, because at the end of the day, the GDPR in itself can be complex, and reading it can be bedtime story, but it makes you fall asleep quite quickly. So you need to have that patience to read it, extract it, and make it digestible for people and digestible for management. And when you do that, you have to put it in very, very specific controls, specific audit points, which you can check. So it's about 70, 80, 100 checkpoints that we have built, and that's what you implement. So any company that says you have to use it with some judgment, along with ISO 27701.
actually recognized in international markets, also here in the Dutch area, for instance. We have also some companies have been accredited also for ISO 27701 certification in addition to 27001 certification. So, you know, if you see on the numbering, on the numbers, it's an add-on on information security. And it's always that information security and data protection overlaps, you know, with Section 9 data like health data and religious data and very sensitive data. It overlaps more, in industry a little bit less. But if you are interested in being certified in recognized certification, then you should look out for organizations that have been already accredited. And this is brand new. A couple of weeks ago, those companies have been accredited, and now this organization any organization can be certified in the meaning of GDPR, in the meaning of 27701. This is new, and during the past years, only products could be certified, and now also organization can be certified. This is brand new for organizations who are interested in this, to stop discussions with business partners whether everything is in place or not. This is a recommendation I can give to you on that point.
So your recommendation is certification framework based on 27701, not on your privacy. Individual company consultancy.
Well, you know, this is one ISO standard. And ISO standards, you know, we are here information security specialists and data protection officers. But if you look a little bit far away around the table, and you check out other areas of interest, like, for instance, quality management systems. You know, everyone knows about quality management systems and certification on 9001, and everyone who wants to sell products counts on this. So by this, later on, we have the certification for 27701 in information security area or in compliance management systems. And hey, now we data protection officers generated some completely new, call it a data protection management system. Yeah, okay, right. And now we are able also to certify this kind of level of compliance, and if this is needed. But from my perspective, only a few organizations are really interested in getting certified for data protection, but they need to demonstrate to their business partners, to the data subjects, and to press media that they run in a compliant way. And this can be done by maybe also not a certification process, but maybe by just a report of a company like Punit, my company, or what else company, you know. This is really helpful. This is really helpful. Yeah. Does it answer your question? A little bit, yeah. Yeah. You feel free to connect here. Stay for 2 days here.
Thank you for this question. Do we have any other question in the audience? Yes? Go ahead.
Probably I can contribute a little bit. Actually, if I'm wrong, GDPR actually address that each state can certify companies that can audit actually regarding the data protection. That means that if companies work with personal data of many states, EU states, that it means that need to have like a lot of certification from certificate bodies that are certificated by DPA, Data Protection Authority of national state. This is going to be like having certified in the international level going to be a big problem, because each state can have each body of certification, and each state nevertheless can launch complaint or do investigation on that. And doing the audit and inspection is two different things, because if you do audit, you do that just recommendation, but if you do inspection according to the GDPR, you are going to the penalty directly. That's a different thing, actually.
I just want to give you some more recommendation, because we're here to learn from each other. This is a panel 4, isn't it? And only if you knew the website www.enforcementtracker.com. This is quite helpful. And from outer perspective, outside the European Union, you know, no, there have never been addressed so many fines and so high fines internally inside the European Union to organizations, because they have a lack in technical organizational measures. They're not in control of any kind of data. They have fundamental topics not in place. And check out not only the fines in the country and the regulations. Just check out the summaries, be noted what has gone wrong in those organizations, learn from it, and adopt your organization so that this can never happen to your organization. This is really helpful. We can learn from each other. This is a conference for, this is a panel for websites like this. This is really helpful. And when I demonstrate this, for instance, when I say to a German client, discuss this with a German client, they say, oh, there's guys in Italy, they're so much easier in data protection. I say, no, open the website, click on the Italian flag, and check out the fines being addressed by Roma. So it's everywhere, really a topic. And those summaries demonstrate that fundamental topics have been not in place and had not been addressed in the past. And this is a pity. It's common sense, you know. If you run a company without backups, come on, you're kidding me? It's not about rocket science. It's low level. And the low-level topics are not in place. And all these assessments leads to the question from me to the management, why didn't you start fixing the issues? And they say, we do not know where to start and how to start. We're looking for advisors who tracks us and pushes us. And it's not a matter to money. It's not a matter to, you know, we are not interested. They're confused. They need an advisor. And we are all advisors here, somehow. And this is our job and our daily role. Thanks.
We have time for one last question. Oh, Chris, do you want to add anything? Okay, one last question. Go ahead.
One question. So what makes the data privacy framework better than the predecessors like Safe Harbor and Privacy Shield?
You want an honest answer?
Yeah.
The big question.
Because it's active right now and has not been challenged in court.
Schrems is working on it.
Yes, that's why I said not been challenged yet.
Yeah, not yet. Yeah, and we're really looking forward that US will set up maybe a court or something like this where data subjects can claim the rights, right? And then this will come to an end, this discussion. Yeah.
Would it be wise to invest money already in getting prepared for this if it may be shut down in the near future?
It's about risk management. So if you have credible alternatives like using standard contractual clauses or transfer risk assessments and use this also, then that's fine. So to my clients, I recommend it's a matter of time that this will be challenged. So be prepared for alternatives as well. So don't rely on one. Don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Thank you. I think it sums up all the questions. I'm closing this roundtable. Thank you for attending, and I wish you best rest of the conference. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you.